What you're seeing right here is literally plant communication. Plants talking to each other. This time scientists were able to help us visualize this through a very unique imaging technique involving fluorescence.
In a world obsessed with decoding the mysteries of human consciousness, we've often overlooked the silent majority, the plants that shape our air, our food, and even our climate. While we measure intelligence in words and emotions, nature has long been communicating in ways we barely notice. Beneath the soil, through the wind, and within each cell, plants have been sending messages, complex biochemical signals to survive, adapt, and thrive. For centuries, humans have tried to interpret this hidden dialogue. We've studied how plants respond to light, sound, and touch. We've tracked how they signal distress when attacked, or how they coordinate defense strategies. But recently, science took a turn that few could have predicted. Using artificial intelligence, researchers may have finally decoded part of the plant kingdom's secret language, and what they found could completely change how we think about life on Earth. The whispering world of plants has always existed in silence, yet it's anything but quiet. Beneath the stillness of leaves and stems, an entire network of communication thrives, unseen, chemical, and electric. Plants release volatile compounds into the air when attacked, warning their neighbors of danger. They alter their growth when sensing signals from others nearby. In forests, entire communities connect through vast underground fungal webs, transferring nutrients and messages, forming a living network scientists have come to call the Wood Wide Web. What once sounded like myth or spiritual belief, that plants are aware and responsive, is now being confirmed by data. Science has begun to translate this mysterious form of communication into measurable truth. Plants emit distress molecules when injured. They respond to the buzzing frequencies of pollinators. They exchange information through roots, chemicals, and even electrical pulses. Yet one layer of this conversation remained beyond human reach: the genetic code itself. Deep within each plant cell lies a language written in sequences of nucleotides, dictating when a plant should grow, defend, rest, or bloom. Until recently, understanding that hidden syntax seemed impossible. But artificial intelligence changed the equation. AI has already revolutionized how we see the natural world. From mapping galaxies to detecting cancer cells, its ability to recognize patterns in chaos has redrawn the boundaries of science. In biology, the question became hauntingly clear. If machines can learn human language, could they also learn the language of life? Could AI read the molecular grammar that governs genes and growth? A team led by Dr. Haopeng Yu, working with Professor Yiliang Ding at the John Innes Center, alongside experts from the University of Exeter and the Chinese Academy of Sciences, decided to find out. Their research, recently published in Nature Machine Intelligence, unveiled something remarkable: Plant RNA-FM, an AI model that doesn't just analyze plant biology, but learns it. Built using RNA data from 1,124 plant species, it captures the entire evolutionary spectrum, from ancient mosses to complex flowering plants. To grasp how groundbreaking this is, we have to step into the molecular world of RNA. While DNA stores life's blueprints, RNA is the builder, messenger, and interpreter all at once. It reads the DNA instructions, carries them to the machinery of the cell, and helps produce proteins, the physical essence of life. But RNA's power lies not just in what it carries, but in how it folds. The molecule bends and loops into intricate three-dimensional shapes that determine how genes are expressed. Each twist can activate or silence a function. It's a language built not from sounds or letters, but from geometry and chemistry. Decoding this structure has challenged scientists for decades. Each RNA molecule can fold in millions of possible ways, and its behavior shifts with temperature, stress, and environment. Traditional bioinformatics could map fragments of this complexity, but never the whole picture. The result was like hearing whispers in a storm, fragments of meaning without the full message. Plant RNA FM changed that. Inspired by the same principles that power human language models, the system was trained to read the molecular alphabet of life, the nucleotides A, U, C, and G. But instead of words, it learned sequences. Instead of grammar rules, it discovered folding patterns. The researchers fed the AI an immense data set, 54 billion pieces of RNA information spanning more than 1,000 species. The goal was simple, but staggering. Teach the machine the underlying rules of RNA, the patterns that link sequence to structure and structure to function. The results were astonishing. The model didn't merely memorize data, it began to understand it. It could predict which sections of RNA were active, which were silent, and which played regulatory roles that influence everything from growth rate to stress response. It recognized structural motifs, loops, stems, and bulges that control how efficiently a plant produces its proteins. When tested against previous computational tools, Plant RNA FM achieved a benchmark F1 score of 0.974. That level of accuracy doesn't just surpass earlier models, it redefines the limits of what AI can uncover in biology. It means the system can identify meaningful biological patterns with almost perfect precision. For scientists, this isn't a step forward. It's a leap into uncharted territory. The implications extend far beyond academic curiosity. With Plant RNA FM, researchers can now peer into the molecular decision-making of plants. They can predict how a crop might respond to drought or disease before symptoms appear. They can design plants that grow more efficiently, resist pathogens, or adapt to changing climates. It opens the possibility of reading, and one day rewriting, the biological language that guides ecosystems. But it also raises haunting questions. If plants communicate through genes and molecules, if they react to sound and injury, then how aware are they of the world around them? The distinction between living and sensing becomes blurred. The silent forests and the unmoving fields may be far more alive in their awareness than we ever imagined. The fusion of AI and plant biology has brought us to a frontier where science meets mystery. For the first time, machines can listen to what plants have been saying for millions of years, encoded in the folds of their RNA. It's as if the planet itself has begun to speak through data, revealing its ancient secrets not in myths or metaphors, but in molecular truth. The whispering world of plants is no longer silent. It's communicating, and we are finally beginning to understand its language. The discoveries did not stop at prediction. They opened a door into something far more profound. When the researchers looked deeper into how the AI made its decisions, what they found was nothing short of astonishing. Plant RNA FM was not just identifying patterns, it was exposing the hidden grammar of life inside plants. Using an interpretability framework, scientists traced how the model reached its conclusions and uncovered exactly which RNA structures controlled translation, the process that determines how much of a specific protein a plant produces. The findings were striking. The AI identified 112 distinct RNA structural motifs related to translation, with 63 acting as repressors and 49 enhancing it. These structures were not random. They acted like molecular punctuation, altering how genetic information was read. When scientists began to manipulate these motifs experimentally, the results were immediate and dramatic. Some RNA structures boosted protein production more than 5-fold, as though an invisible switch had been activated inside the cell. It meant that, with precision, humans could influence how a plant allocates energy, how it grows, and how it defends itself. The AI had uncovered something deeper than data. It had mapped the syntax of life, a set of rules that define how biological meaning is built. For the first time, we were not simply reading genetic code. We were beginning to understand how to interpret it. What made plant RNA-FM so different from previous systems was its transparency. Earlier models offered predictions but no reasoning. They could mark regions of interest but not explain why those regions mattered. Plant RNA-FM changed that completely. It could pinpoint a structure and explain that a specific stem loop enhanced translation because of the exact way its base pairs interacted. This new level of clarity reshaped how plant biology operates. Scientists could now form sharper hypotheses, target genes with accuracy, and design experiments that aimed directly at the molecular mechanisms driving plant behavior. It was no longer guesswork. The line between data and discovery had vanished. For the first time, biologists, computer scientists, and AI researchers were working together to build not just models, but understanding. AI had not replaced scientists. It had expanded the horizon of what they could uncover. Yet as with every powerful discovery, awe comes with unease. Once we learn the rules that govern genetic communication, we gain the ability to change them. That is where the story darkens. If humans can now interpret and rewrite RNA structures, then plants can be programmed in ways nature never intended. Crops could be designed to warn each other about pests, coordinate defense systems, or adjust instantly to environmental stress. On paper, this sounds like progress, but altering the molecular language of life brings unpredictable consequences. Once we start changing how plants talk to one another, we risk blurring the line between natural evolution and artificial design. What happens if these engineered traits escape into wild ecosystems? Could an altered plant dominate others, reshaping entire landscapes? Could a small genetic tweak ripple across food chains or alter soil ecology in ways that cannot be undone? These are no longer distant hypotheticals. They are immediate possibilities, emerging at the intersection of synthetic biology and machine learning. The ethical questions are as weighty as the scientific ones. Who will control the code of life? If AI can read and rewrite genetic instructions, who ensures those changes are safe? The power to alter how living organisms behave cannot be held lightly. Even a single RNA motif, if spread outside the lab, could set off irreversible changes. The very precision that makes AI-driven biology so promising also makes it dangerous when used carelessly. Still, in the midst of that uncertainty lies tremendous hope. The potential benefits for agriculture and the environment are vast. With models like plant RNA-FM, scientists can now design plants that resist drought, survive in extreme climates, and produce higher yields with fewer resources. For American farmers facing rising temperatures and unpredictable weather, this kind of innovation could be transformative. Traditional breeding methods take decades to develop new crop varieties. Genetic engineering shortened that timeline, but it relied heavily on trial and error. AI eliminates much of that uncertainty, transforming biology from an art of experimentation into an exact science. By understanding RNA's structural language, researchers can modify expression precisely, turning specific genes on or off to enhance traits without unwanted side effects. Imagine crops that use less water, maintain yields during heat waves, and offer improved nutrition. As global warming accelerates and resources strain under population growth, this kind of precision will be critical. Plant RNA-FM represents a shift from simply studying life to actively guiding it. Professor Yiliang Ding, one of the lead scientists behind the project, called this only the beginning. The team is already developing more advanced models that can interpret both RNA and DNA across species. The potential reaches beyond plants. The same principles could apply to microbes, animals, and even humans. AI's role in biology is moving from observation to translation, from detecting what exists to understanding how it speaks. This merging of artificial intelligence and living systems marks a turning point in science. We are entering an age when machines can listen to the molecular conversations that have shaped Earth for millions of years. Every cell, every leaf, every root has been speaking in patterns too complex for us to hear, until now. What AI has uncovered is not just knowledge, but comprehension. It has given us the ability to understand the instructions that sustain life, to interpret its pauses and its emphasis, and possibly to alter them. It is a revelation that inspires both wonder and unease. The whispering world of plants is no longer silent. Its messages are becoming legible, and its code is no longer beyond human reach. What we do with that understanding will define how we coexist with the living world from this moment forward. We have begun to decipher nature's language, but whether we listen with care or command it with arrogance will determine the balance between discovery and destruction. The voice of life itself is speaking, and for the first time, humanity has the power to answer. What AI accomplished here goes beyond computation. It borders on revelation. To understand how monumental this is, we need to see what actually happened when machines began learning the logic of life. Language models, at their core, work by predicting what comes next, in words, in sound, or in genetic sequences. By training the AI on billions of RNA fragments, scientists taught it to recognize which combinations of nucleotides make biological sense. Over time, the system began detecting recurring patterns that no human eye could ever see. Loops began appearing near start codons, subtle folds clustered around regulatory regions, and intricate shapes revealed themselves as consistent signals of genetic meaning. It was as if grammar rules were emerging from chaos, a hidden structure becoming visible where before there was only randomness. The result was not a black box of predictions, but a translation key between sequence and function. The AI produced something that looked like understanding, a map of biological intent. Dr. Haopeng Yu summarized it perfectly when he said, "While RNA sequences may appear random to the human eye, our AI model has learned to decode the hidden patterns within them." That single statement represents the culmination of decades of unanswered questions in molecular biology, suddenly illuminated by machine intelligence. For the first time, we could see the rules guiding how life writes itself. This achievement did not belong to one lab or one nation. It was born from collaboration across borders and disciplines. Scientists from the John Innes Center in the United Kingdom, the University of Exeter, and the Chinese Academy of Sciences united their expertise in molecular biology, artificial intelligence, and data modeling. Supported by the HFSP Fellowship, which fosters international and cross-disciplinary innovation, the team created a project that transcended traditional boundaries. Their partnership demonstrated something powerful: that solving the biggest challenges in science, from food security to climate resilience, demands cooperation as much as technology. When AI meets biology, the pace of discovery multiplies, and the barriers that once separated nations or fields of study begin to dissolve. What this means for the future of artificial intelligence is far-reaching. We often define AI by its human-centered uses: chatbots, automation, and algorithms that manage our devices or write our words. But the true revolution may not unfold in screens or data centers. It may unfold in the living world itself. Plant RNA-FM is one of the first models to interpret the molecular language of nature. It is a prototype for a new class of AI capable of reading life's source code. Just as language models like ChatGPT learned to construct meaning from human text, future biological models could learn to construct living systems and to design organisms with intent and precision. We are approaching an age when AI will not merely mimic intelligence, it will interpret evolution. This potential carries both promise and peril. Used responsibly, such technology could help restore damaged ecosystems, create crops that endure drought and disease, and protect endangered species from extinction. But if used recklessly, it could hand us power we are not prepared to control: the ability to rewrite nature itself. Once the code of life becomes editable at scale, the question is no longer what we can do, but what we should do. That is where the ethical edge begins. Scientific progress always walks the line between innovation and danger. When nuclear physics emerged, it promised limitless energy and delivered weapons of destruction. AI-driven biology may one day face the same duality. The power to decode and manipulate the genetic language of plants is not simply a technical achievement. It is a moral and ecological dilemma. Do we have the right to rewrite communication systems that evolved over millions of years without our interference? What happens if the same technology extends to animals, microbes, or humans? The scientists behind Plant RNA-FM emphasize that their work seeks understanding, not control. But history shows that once knowledge exists, control eventually follows. The critical question is not whether we can speak the language of it. It is whether we can be trusted with what it says back. Still, the discovery marks a milestone that cannot be ignored. For centuries, humanity has tried to read the book of life. We uncovered DNA, mapped genomes, and built models to predict biological behavior. Yet until now, we could only read the words, not the intent behind them. With AI, we are starting to read between the lines, to uncover how nature writes, organizes, and refines its own sentences. Plant RNA-FM is not the conclusion of this journey, but its beginning. Future models will merge RNA, DNA, and protein data into unified systems capable of predicting how life functions and how it might evolve. These integrated multi-omic networks could lead to ecosystems that monitor their own health, or to crops that adjust nutrient uptake automatically in response to stress. It signals the dawn of biointelligent systems, where technology and nature intertwine rather than compete. At first glance, decoding plant RNA might appear like an academic pursuit. a niche topic confined to molecular labs, but its impact stretches across every level of existence. Plants form the foundation of life on Earth. They regulate the air we breathe, the soil we depend on, and the balance that sustains entire ecosystems. Understanding how they communicate is equivalent to understanding the planet's operating system. AI has now given us access to that original code, a language written long before humans appeared. Hidden within that code may lie lessons about resilience, balance, and adaptation that humanity desperately needs. As we face a changing climate, rising populations, and fragile ecosystems, listening to the biological language that sustained the Earth for billions of years might be the key to surviving the future we are creating. Through AI, the whispering world of plants has begun to speak clearly, offering not just data, but wisdom. And as we stand on the edge of this new frontier, one truth becomes undeniable. The moment we learned to understand the logic of life, we also inherited the responsibility to protect it. The discovery of plant RNA-FM doesn't mean plants talk the way we do. It means that the code of life, the way information flows through nature, is finally becoming legible. Artificial intelligence didn't just help us understand plants. It helped us glimpse the logic behind existence itself. Whether that knowledge leads us to harmony with nature or domination over it depends on the choices we make next. If you found this story as fascinating or as unsettling as we did, take a second to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more deep dives into the frontiers of science and technology. Because the more we learn, the more we realize that the line between life and intelligence isn't as clear as we once thought. And somewhere, in the silent rhythm of leaves and roots, the plants might be saying, "We've been speaking all along. You just finally learned to listen."